houses. So you have a very special house where you allow people to come and experience the Phantom History House. So we all know that a lot of the history is tied into haunted stories as well. So will you talk a little bit about why did you guys decide to create this Phantom History House?
Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day.
Hello. This is Jennifer J. And I'm so excited. You know, I love to talk about haunted houses. So our next guests are experts, I'm going to say, in this arena. And if you're listening to this, hopefully you're listening to this before Halloween. But if you're not, this is always a topic we want to discuss. So the name of their place is Phantom History House. So this is Tim and Steve. Welcome to the show.
Jennifer, thank you for having us.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Yay! So I'm just going to say, if you're not watching this on one of the things, you're going to wonder about the potion bottles that we're going to talk about that are looming behind them. And no, that's not a screen. A fake screen. Those are real potion bottle, or real bottles, at least we call them potion bottles. But let's go ahead and let's start with, have you ever had an experience with a haunted house or a spirit?
Absolutely, yes. I lived in a house over in Seminole Heights during the pandemic and had a few encounters with the spirits over there, 3 in particular that I saw regularly. So I saw them, but I could not interact with them, but I did see them.
Wow. Were they mischievous? Did they do things in the house?
One of them broke a whiskey tumbler, so I don't think she was a fan of alcohol. So that was a little bit mischievous. And they like to make sounds and stuff in one of my closets. But overall, they pretty much left me alone. So they weren't too mischievous.
Yeah. It's interesting. I love to hear different people's stories on their experiences with haunted houses. So you have a very special house where you allow people to come and experience the Phantom History House. So we all know that a lot of the history is tied into haunted stories as well. So will you talk a little bit about why did you guys decide to create this Phantom History House?
Well, sure. A few years ago, I started a podcast called Phantom History, where I talk to paranormal investigators and historians about haunted historic locations. And like you said, the past really ties into the alleged hauntings that people experience. And I am a former journalist, so if you're being haunted, I want to know by who. So that's why I started that whole idea. And then when I told Tim about my idea of creating an environment that kind of celebrates the paranormal, we came up with the Phantom History House concept, and we call it creepy yet comfortable. I'm creepy, he's comfortable.
Which means I take care of things like comfortable sheets and do baking some baked goods and making sure everyone has a very high-end comfortable experience here at our bed and breakfast. But we are paranormally themed. Each of the sleeping chambers, as we call them, our 4 guest rooms, has a unique theme within that world.
And Tim, talk a little bit more about your amazing, because the amazing muffins, the amazing cookies. It's much more, people think about Airbnbs and they, I hate to say, they usually have like a combination locked on the outside of the door. It's not quite what I want to say. Back in the olden days, which makes me feel so old, when you went to a B&B, you actually it was a bed and breakfast and you literally actually had some kind of breakfast. So talk about that warm, cozy part that you guys have.
Right. Well, what's different about a bed and breakfast as opposed to an Airbnb is you're really guests in our home. We are here all the time. And depending on your group and what you have going on and what your experience is, we can be very involved in your stay, or we can really be out of your way. But you are here in our home. This is our home, the Phantom History House that we're sharing with you. So we do provide breakfast every morning. It's a continental breakfast, but I do always have some baked goods on hand around to welcome our guests. I started baking during the pandemic. So that's part of me wanting to keep you comfortable, letting you have a really nice, luxurious, comfortable stay. So there are baked goods here, but we do provide breakfast every morning for guests that stay here at Phantom History House.
Well, I think that is so important because, again, that's a huge distinction from other places that someone would be staying. And even if you go to a hotel, I mean, maybe they have breakfast, but it's not quite like your homemade muffins or cookies or some of the stuff that you do. So it makes it really special. And I'm just going to mention it because I'm one of those gluten-free people. that you are willing to take requests if somebody has special diet needs, like gluten-free, right?
Absolutely. In fact, we always want our guests to let us know if they have anything special that we need to know about them. If I'm going to be baking something, I can make a gluten-free brownie that's just as good as a regular brownie, if I may say so myself. So we're always wanting them to be comfortable and take care of them.
Well, and I appreciate that, because I think, and that's something that I know a lot of times people won't travel because they don't feel like they have options. So I will tell you, from those of us who, really can't have certain things, we love being able to have just as good tasting brownies or muffins that are gluten-free. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for catering to people. So let's talk a little bit about, as you call it, the 4 bed chambers, the 4 different places. So there's number 1, there's the Ouija room, which I think for a lot of people, Ouija boards are just something that is so creepy, they can't even imagine it. But talk about that room and what kind of experiences, if you can share a specific story, maybe someone who enjoyed it.
Well, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, a lot of people enjoy that room. One, it's the only one with a king size bed. The others are all queen size. So it is the largest room that we have available. It also has access to our back deck, which overlooks a nature preserve. It's very, very private back there. It's very, very quiet. And yes, it's the Ouija board room. There's some Ouija art on the wall. You do get a complimentary Ouija board in there with you that you're more than welcome to use. But it's also extremely comfortable. We have a special table that we had built specifically for the room that's in the shape of the planchette that you use on the Ouija board. And we've had mixed reports on how well the Ouija board works. We've had some people that have said, hey, we stayed up last night, we played with it, and we found out that the gender of our next grandchild is going to be a girl. They have not emailed me to let me know if that has happened yet. But we've had others who have said, oh, we broke out the Ouija board and nothing happened. So it really just depends on them, maybe how the spirits are feeling that day. But they always come down saying that they rested really, really well and that they enjoyed their stay and were very comfortable, which is the important part for us.
Yeah, that's the very important part. And then, Tim, I know that one of the rooms that has amazing, the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. And
Right.
I think it's such a good theme, but will you talk a little bit about that room and why is the Beast from Beauty and the Beast in that room?
Well, the Beast is in that room because it's our castle room. It actually turns out to be probably our most popular room. There's a lot of remote control candles. So when you walk in, there's a faux wolf comforter on the bed. There's a giant 4-poster. You feel like you're walking into a room in an opulent castle. That's certainly our goal. So we had this beautiful piece of art with the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. We felt he belonged to be in there. And there's also a paranormal picture in there, if you want to talk about that, Steve.
Yeah, well, in the bathroom of the castle room, we have a piece of art. It's a photograph from 1930s. It is allegedly the very first apparition ever caught on film, which is the Brown Lady of Raynham Hall. So that's really the only paranormal element that's in that room, but it is an actual journalistic photograph, which has been debated for close to a century now on its authenticity. But many people believe that it's the actual spirit of Lady Dorothy Townsend, who died in the 1700s.
Wow.
Right, but if you're looking for a comfortable romantic getaway, probably the castle room is your best bet, because there's really nothing super creepy in there. We have a lot of people that are like, oh, I can definitely stay in here because it's just very comfortable and cozy and romantic.
Yeah.
And it has the purple, and I was going to say it's kind of a little bit of royalty. I love that room. That's a great one. Let's talk a little bit about the living room, where you guys have all the Harry Potter books. You have, I guess that's the living room with the fireplace, and oh my gosh, there's so much in there. There are elements that are just beautiful touches. Will you talk about that?
Sure. The main room in our house, we call it our library because it is the living room, but it's really a library. It has a fireplace. It has all of the books, as many books as we can collect. And we're always looking for more hardcover books to add to that room. And there are a lot of sort of scary Gothic horror novels, a lot of Stephen King, Silence of the Lambs, The Exorcist, all those are in there. But then we've collected all kinds of books that we both owned over the years before we got together. So there's everything in there, from a Harry Potter down to Disney books and all kinds of stuff. But that's our main sort of comfortable spot. There's a fish aquarium that creates a very calming, relaxing atmosphere. And that's sort of the main place where people can gather and maybe sit by the fire and tell some ghost stories, or just relax and enjoy being together with their friends.
And we also have the chess table in the corner where people can relax and play a game. Or on certain days, we'll actually have a psychic or medium come in who will do tarot card readings and things in that corner and offer readings to our guests or anybody who just wants to come in and book some time with that reader. So it's a great location for all of that.
And let's talk about those potion bottles behind you.
Absolutely. Well, we had this idea to have a potion room from the very beginning. We first started talking about having a paranormal bed and breakfast. This was one of the ideas. The library was one of our ideas. We felt like every great Victorian mansion has a giant library. And the other was sort of these beautiful glass bottles. So we spent well over a year collecting over 180 multicolored glass bottles. You can see them behind us if you're watching the video. We had a wonderful master craftsman build this built-in where they are lighted underneath. And it's right off of our kitchen area. It's sort of like another sitting area, a place where you can have your breakfast, and especially early in the morning or late at night. It's so beautiful in here. The glass bottles are all lit.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's beautiful. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Did you want to say something?
I was gonna say we've also has used this place as a reading room. So we had a group reading here with one of our psychics,
and a seance in this room as well.
Seance in this room too. Yeah. So it's multi-use, but it is mostly our breakfast and seating area.
Which is, I mean, I think the flow of the house is there's a bunch of different rooms. So even if there was 4 different like groups or couples or whatnot, there's enough space that everybody can have a little bit of space. And we didn't talk much about the dining room, but it also is a completely different decoration. And it's neat because, again, it's super bright and light. And I want to almost say it's a happy dining room. What is the theme that you would say for the dining room?
Well, I think that the dining room, you're right, it is happy and bright during the day, but at night it's the darkest room in the house because we have
all these windows everywhere.
Yeah, we have, and all the mirrors. So there's a bunch of gold framed mirrors and these massive windows. So it reflects light like crazy during the day, and it is beautiful in there. And at night, all of our candles are on, which are electric battery powered candles, a couple of candelabras and things like that. So it kind of sets a different kind of flickering, darker mood. Still very beautiful. But it's a great place to have workshops, team meetings, group chats, things like that. And we had a party here recently, and it was our dessert table. So, you can really utilize it for whatever you need it.
And Jennifer, to your point, I love that you mentioned this. Sometimes we have 4 different groups of guests that don't know each other, but there's plenty of space here for them, of course, to get to know each other in the morning over breakfast if they'd like to, or each have their own space. We also feel like we're tailor-made when you have a whole group of friends. You can rent out the entire place for a night or a weekend. It's been a great place to have a birthday party, a getaway, get together with your friends. So we love the idea of someone having the entire space for them and their friends or their family to relax and enjoy all the different environments we've created. That's turned out to be a very well-received thing that we've been doing.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we also call those the staycations.
Exactly.
Yes.
A lot of people locally, because you just want to do something different. You want to be in a beautiful environment, but something completely different. I mean, how often can you step onto what feels like the set of one of those creepy Victorian movies and just relax and enjoy time with your friends?
And talk about, things that maybe not everybody is always talking about, which is the theme of, not only history, but, haunted, any kind of experiences. I know you guys said that people a lot of times start the conversation with, I've never told anyone this before, ... And that
is what makes us the most proud of this place.
Absolutely.
Is we're a safe space for those stories, because a lot of people may not feel comfortable to share those paranormal experiences they had, whether it was last week or 25 years ago when they were a kid. But after they're in our space and they kind of get to know us a little bit, they sense that, oh, I can tell you this experience that I have, and you're not going to judge me, and you might be able to kind of help direct me to kind of figure out what it was that I experienced. And I always tell everybody who visits is we certainly do not have all the answers, but we know a lot of people who are in this world, whether they're psychics and mediums or paranormal investigators, that we might be able to connect you with.
Which is beautiful. And speaking of which, you alluded to it before, but talk about beautiful. Talk a little bit about your backyard and that beautiful pond that's out there.
Yes, we couldn't believe how lucky we were to find this wonderful home at this location, but there's well over an acre of land here. There's a wildlife preserve behind our house. So it's very, very private. We see deer and other wildlife quite often. And there's a beautiful pond that we share with our neighbor. It's all very private. When you step out on that back deck, if you're staying in one of those rooms, you really don't see any other houses, any other people. It's very, very quiet here. Even though we're near a lot of stuff, you pull into this neighborhood and you really it just becomes very quiet and private. So we love the idea of this very nature, quiet, comfortable backyard area that our guests get to enjoy.
And there's so many other things. I just want to highlight one other thing before we run out of time. And the hidden, you have you have all the creature comforts of home, like televisions. But let's talk a little bit about how you've done such an elegant design that the televisions are there in each room, but most of them are hidden in one way or another.
Yeah, we wanted to create an atmosphere that was unique to any place you've ever been, and also removed from like the modern world. So while we have Wi-Fi and you can stream Netflix, we didn't want the TVs to take up a big part of the room. So in our portrait room, for example, there's all these beautiful Victorian photos, and the TV is on the wall, but it has a frame around it, so it kind of blends in. In our cemetery room, which has this cemetery mural on the wall, the TV is hidden inside an old armoire that you have to, open to access, so you don't see it when you walk in right away. And same with the other two rooms as well. They're tucked away, but they're there for the convenience of them if you want them. But we also include a book in every room because we are big readers, and that goes along with the Victorian vibe. So there's a book that's on theme. So we talked a lot about the castle room, and of course on the nightstand, Dracula. So if you decide you want some, some reading before bedtime, it's right there waiting for you.
I think it's fantastic. I love what you guys have created. And I feel so blessed to have actually been there myself. And I've walked through the rooms and felt that it is a very peaceful place. And as you said, I love the fact that it has the safe space and it is very cozy. So thank you for what you've created.
Yeah, thank you. One of our main goals was for it to be a safe space for anybody, no matter who you are, what you think or do or whatever, you're welcome here. And once you become comfortable, we're happy for you to share your stories with us. That's one of the things we're really proud of. That plus just letting people have a really comfortable, relaxing stay.
And I should say before, I am normally 100% focused on real estate. So I do feel like I should say, this is one of the many ways that you can own a piece of real estate and have it actually create some income for you. And I think it's really important for everybody to look at it, turning your passion into an income stream, but also an amazing new lifestyle for you. So I commend you for doing that and making it so much fun and creating that place, that safe space for people, but also for you guys, because you both seem so happy there too. So well done.
Well, thank you. We are very cozy here as well. We want our guests to have that same experience.
Well, thank you. So I want to make sure people know, how do they, if they want to book a room or they want to know more, not only about the Phantom History House, but also about your podcast, please.
Okay, well, the easiest place to go is to our website, phantomhistoryhouse.com or phantomhistory.com. And that gives you access to the bed and breakfast. You can book your room right there on the website. And you can also access both of our podcasts. We have a podcast called Phantom History, which is a spooky narrative of different haunted locations where I interview those paranormal investigators and those historians. And we also have its sister podcast, which is called Conjuring Phantom History, which is kind of like all things behind the scenes of Phantom History House. Conversations with psychics and mediums, the full interviews from the Phantom History podcast, maybe a conversation with a guest or two who has an interesting story that they want to share on a broader platform. So it's just everything else that isn't scripted, I guess is a good way to phrase it.
Sure. And at phantomhistoryhouse.com, you can also find videos of all the rooms and pictures of the house and information about each of the different guest rooms and things. So you can learn more about it, see what's here. But everybody always says it doesn't really, the pictures don't do it justice. You need to come here and experience it for yourself. And of course, we're on all the social medias as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one more thing to add, we also have events. So if you go to the Phantom History House website, we have an events tab where you can check out things like Ghost Stories Around the Fire. But as far as social media goes, we are on, and everything is at Phantom History. So we are on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Threads. Which one am I missing?
I say YouTube.
LinkedIn.
Yeah. So LinkedIn. So we're on all of the social media
wherever they are.
So at Phantom History, you'll be able to find us.
Perfect. And as you know, I like to end every episode with a yay. So I'm going to ask you to lift your voice and say yay with me as we go off the air. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Yay!